Hey harmonizers, welcome to this video with Elysia. In this video, we're going to take a look at what I do in the saddle for riding before I decide it's safe to take off the bridle. Now, sometimes I do start horses entirely with no tools. I actually took a race horse right off the racetrack and he came home and I did all of his sessions in my indoor arena, which is pretty big, with no whip, no neck rope, no halter, nothing other than like to get him from the field into the arena. I let him loose. And after 15 sessions, we were able to ride walk, trot, figure eights. That was part of my ottb Liberty Restart. Literally no tools. There are some other people out there that say, oh, I'm doing a Liberty Restart and things like that, but they actually get on the horse with a neck rope or they use whips and things like that. I literally used nothing, no ropes, no halters, no nothing, big open space, and had a racehorse going walk, trot, figure eights within 15 sessions. So that was a pretty cool learning experience for me, and it's totally possible. Definitely inspires me to do more with less. When we use tools like a neck rope or a halter or a lead rope, I don't think they're bad. It speeds training because you can have clearer communication sooner. But what I like about the Liberty Restart and doing work with no tools is it makes me more aware of what the relationship's like with the horse. It makes me more aware of what the horse is ready for. And then when I add those tools in, how I need to use those tools in a way that are gonna preserve our communication and our relationship. So I hope you guys enjoy this bit of riding with Elysia before we decide to take off the bridle for our first bridleless ride together.
As I go to take Elysia out here to get on and go riding, I thought it'd be important to show you guys me getting on my horses. I think that how you mount your horse is super duper important, that it's important for the horse to stand still while you get on. And if they aren't standing still while you get on, then it's good to practice this skill. And you can see I give my horse a cookie after I get on, and she kind of knows to stand there and wait for her cookie. Whether your horse is walking off because they're anxious or they want to get going or they're being disrespectful or they're scared, whatever it is, it's not really a good reason. And so it's important that they can stand still and let us get on safely. So I make that a big deal with my horses. And if she wasn't good at that, then we would continue working with that before we actually get into some riding. So Elysia is actually pretty lazy. You can see I'm trying to motion my body to get her going there a little bit more. She has a tendency to want to kind of suck back a little bit. Part of that's probably because she's not super comfortable moving in her body. I suspect that when she was at the racetrack, it was a lot of kind of stiffness that developed in her muscles because she's very stiff going to the right especially. But she just doesn't seem like she's super comfortable with going forward, mostly with the riders. When there's nobody on her back, she's much better. And hopefully as things go along and we get doing more and more stretching, it's one of the perks to doing the treats. You can see we're getting a lot of extra bending out of her neck. We'll see her get more and more comfortable with her body and looser and freer. So part of the reason why I ride her with such loose reins when we're going is I'm not going to pick on her for her headset or anything like that. Until you have a horse going freely forward, you really don't have any business getting up in their grill telling them how they should hold their head and their posture and stuff like that. They really just need to figure out their balance and the forward movement first. So what I'm doing here is just practicing the side pass over the pylons or the cones, as somebody commented on one of my other YouTube videos, and just kind of playing around with getting her to move. It's nice to practice different things and not just be all about go and whoa, but instead asking her some things like this. Now here, she's like, oh, you mean continue sideways in the other direction? It's like, no, I actually am asking for sideways over top of the box. And so sometimes that will happen where they'll think they're super clever and think, oh no, you don't mean to side pass over top of this. You clearly mean to side pass away from it because that makes more sense. So I'm not going to get angry or mad. I'm just going to stay consistent though and try to be as clear as I can. So I've got my one arm out with the rein, really trying to be very clear that we're going out to the left. So therefore my arm is out to the left. You can see I'm using my right leg I'll hold pressure on the leg, but if I feel like they're just kind of ignoring or they're getting stuck, then I'll start to use rhythm with that leg to make it a little easier. Now she's experiencing a little bit of brace in her body. She's not sure that she wants to do that. You can see she's thinking about it. Like even there, she just moved her leg and she thought about it. And here she's getting upset because there's something going on the other side of the ring. But she's kind of using that a little bit as an excuse. So I'm just going to rock her back and forth until she focuses back on me. Where, yeah, something happened on the outside of the ring. But if you weren't already braced in your body, thinking about how you don't want to side pass the box, you probably wouldn't have reacted the way that she did. And that's just more her getting kind of mentally stuck with, I don't really want to do this. And so I'm going to make up, like I'm going to be overreactive with other things that's going on. So my job as her leader and to build a bond with her is to say, look, I know this is difficult for you, but we can do it. This is very achievable for you. So I don't want to make the situation worse by getting aggressive with her or getting after her or starting to smack her or whip her or anything like that, because that's just going to cause more fear and anxiety. So see how my left arm's out to the side. I'm really just kind of holding it. My right leg's on. And as she starts to step, I soften. And then here she makes it halfway. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to offer her a treat because she finally made it. So the box is underneath her and did a couple steps. This is really hard for her. It's not really easy for her. And then I'll ask for a few more steps. And she kind of shuffles her way. So we know that she's not super confident with the task. And there she thinks about, she's like, oh, I really want to just retreat and not finish the box, which is kind of funny because she's already virtually in the middle of the box. So the distance to go left or right is probably about the same. But she's like, no, I don't think I can. So she goes back to where she was before. So I hold the rein again and I'm asking for sideways. You can see I'm putting some rhythm with my right leg and I'm asking her to go over. And then she finally does it and she goes over. And so right away offer that reward. Make sure she knows that she's a super good girl for trying. And it really doesn't matter if this particular task of side passing the wall is not something that you really care to do with your horse. It's more about the message that she's receiving of, I'm only going to ask you to do things that we can do. They're achievable. And I'm going to be able to help you to figure them out, and I'll be with you every step of the way. So when the bigger things happen later on, we get to a competition and she questioned me, she'll kind of think back to moments like this where it's like, well, I don't know if I want to do that. And then she realizes, oh, it's actually not so bad and we can do that and it's okay. And then once they realize that they can do lots of different things, then you get to start to see what they actually enjoy doing. Because right now, she doesn't really know what she enjoys and what she doesn't enjoy because it's all new and it's all kind of challenging a little bit for her. So as she starts to figure more things out, then we'll get to see where her true colors lie, so to speak. So we much better doing that the second time. So I obviously made a really big fuss over that, and it's like, okay, let's try going sideways the other side. And which is kind of funny that she puts up a big stink about it because it's like, okay, you literally were in the middle of the box and you side passed going to the right because you were, you didn't want to go over the rest of it. And then you've done it twice now going to the left. And now that I'm asking for you to go to the right, you're just like, I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to try. So I'm asking her to go over. You can see I'm using my leg and I'm taking my foot out of my stirrup so that way I can put some rhythm. And what I'm waiting for is for Elysia's mind to go towards the box. So she's very much kind of stepping away from the box. She's not really thinking about the box. She's not even acknowledging my presence really. So I was really using the rhythm with my left leg to be like, hey, like we need to figure this out. So I always rather go to rhythm rather than going to extreme pressure. I find that the horses read it a little bit better and they don't get so upset by it than if you, let's say, put a spur on and just dig in your spur. So it's definitely, rhythm is not as attractive as if, let's say, you have a spur on your horse and you poke them. Poking your horse with spurs is a lot more invisible and is a lot tidier looking than if you're swinging your leg on your horse. So I get it. I get why people use spurs, but the same thing can be achieved with rhythm. And then your horse will learn to pick up on the more subtle cues and not need quite that much rhythm. So here I am going for a little trot around, just asking her to move forward, and we play with some turns and some changes of direction, and really just asking her to move out and free up her body. So before I attempt like bridleless or anything like that, I want to attempt, what's going to happen if we potentially get your energy up a little bit, or have raise your emotions by doing sideways or doing jumps or various things like that. And you can see she kind of bunny hops the jumps a little bit, and it takes her a little bit before she moves out. So see, that last jump she just did was much better in terms of like being free with her body rather than just kind of plopping up and plopping down in a very hollow fashion. And the jumps are pretty key for Elysia for learning to get freer in her body. And so we're using them to just get her to bend her legs a little bit more, getting her to stretch her back a little bit more because she has to bring her head up and down. And really, in my body, I'm trying to be as free and out of her way as possible. So I tend to ride with a little bit longer rein. So I try to steer her to the center. It's a little ugly, but then I try really hard to let go of her head, let go of her mouth, so that way she's very free to just go over the jumps. Of course, she knocks a whole bunch of them, and I don't think that's because she doesn't enjoy jumping. I think it's because she doesn't really know what to do with her feet just yet, and that she's still stiff in her body a little bit and not really going forward. And you can see that how she goes crooked over the box there. If she was freer in her body and going forward more, then we would end up with a straighter line. So my job is just to stay out of her way, not get her into trouble or anything like that, and just let her boost up her confidence. But I'm also testing out, what's your energy level like? If we go over this, do you want to land and go off on a running, bucking, galloping spree? Or, do you come back to me pretty easily? So we see that she's not a super fast horse, which is perfect for doing bridleless work, makes it so much easier. Here, even her right canter lead is doing so much better. We pick that up pretty easily, make her full circle, and she gets some praise. With a horse like Fairly, it was much harder for me to train her to do a really cool freestyle. I didn't have a lot of time, and Fairly has a lot of go. Fairly is like, where can we go and can we do it faster? Which makes riding bridleless really, really tricky. Whereas Elysia, you can see she's got this natural kind of slow lope, which is funny because she will like gallop around the field like a maniac. And I do see her rip around, so I know she can have some boogie in there, but generally she's much more kind of chill and kind of quiet, which is going to set me up for success for doing bridleless in the future. Of course, things might change a little bit as she starts to put on more weight as time goes on as well. She's definitely still underweight a little bit and has to pack on some pounds, and sometimes that can change their personality as well. I like to give my horses alfalfa pellets, and I don't like to put them on high concentrates of grain, lots of corn or anything like that, because I don't want to make them crazy. So it keeps them a little bit calmer. It's like a fine balance of trying to pack on the calories, but not trying to pack on the calories so quickly that you turn your horse into a psychopath in the process. And I think a lot of people get so caught up on packing weight on their horse that they sacrifice their horse's brain a little bit. So it's something to kind of keep in mind. So here we're playing with the Tarp a little bit. When we go to Horse World Expo in Pennsylvania, that is coming up at the end of February, we're planning to do a freestyle routine as part of equitainment with fellow Harmony Horsemanship instructor Melissa. And we've got an idea of some things we can do with the Tarp and do it together. And I can do it with Fairly if I need to, but I'd like to do it with Elysia because I think that will just set it up for success for the thoroughbred makeover, just kind of give her some experience to get out and get in front of a crowd. I just think that would be good for her. And why not if she's able to do it? So we're testing it out, and she is pretty naturally chill. She trusts me a lot. She's never done anything like this before with the Tarp, and she's just like, okay, whatever, like it's not really the end of the world. Some horses take longer to get used to stuff like that. She seems like, she's pretty chill. She's not really caring about any of this. So that's looking pretty darn awesome. And this has tested out her mental emotions as well as physically, her energy. So I'm feeling pretty good about going bridleless after we finish up here playing with the Tarp. I'm also feeling pretty good about Horse World Expo using her in the freestyle, because I think she's going to be okay with the Tarp, and it's more about, can we stay moving forward and going where I need her to go. Now, if you're watching this and you're like, man, I'm going to be at Horse World Expo in Pennsylvania. It starts on February 27th. We are looking for a couple people to help us out with the Tarp routine. So if you're interested to help us in equitainment with the Tarp, send me an email to harmonyhorsemanship.tm@gmail.com. Or if you just make a comment on the video, I will reply with my email address so it's easier for you guys. All right, well, I hope to see some of you guys there, and I hope you enjoyed seeing Elysia's update. Thanks for watching.